So needless to say, I like to punish myself with this toy here, and it shoots extremely well. Anyways. Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today's topic of discussion, if you haven't seen it already in the intro or the thumbnail, is we are talking about this guy up top here. So this is a weapon mounted laser rangefinder, right? This one is the Tango Fire 4000. It's a recent one that came on the market at a very competitive price, and it is definitely worth looking into. So let's break this thing down. We'll show some footage of it, show you how it works, some of the other features, and yeah, let's get to it. Okay, real quick, starting up top here. So not only is this, I mean, I can cover the whole thing with one hand, so it is a much more compact weapon mounted rangefinder than its biggest competitor, and you guys know which one I'm talking about. So with that, the size is great, and it has some race cuts inside there to lighten it up a little bit, maybe give it a little bit more structure. It looks good, and you know, that's half the battle. The biggest thing that I noticed when I first opened this out of the box was that it's all a metal construction, which is awesome, right? We like that, instead of it being a polymer like some of the other ones do. Up top here, we do have some toggle buttons to activate the lasers, go through some of the menus and other stuff like that. We do have a elevation and windage adjustment. So for the people that don't know exactly what this is, it is a rangefinder that you get to mount on your rifle, whether it be up top or on the side, that you co-witness the laser itself with your reticle. Thus, when you guys are looking down range, like so, you're using your reticle as your aiming point. You'll get over to whatever your target is. You can actuate it up here or use the remote, and it'll essentially give you your range. So what you're doing is you're using the elevation and the windage to adjust this, to put this into essentially a parallel aspect of your line of sight with the laser itself. Continuing back, you do get a cable with a remote. So the cable mounts up to the back right here. It does have a metal construction as well for where it fastens. The cable is slightly thicker gauge, similar to like the Surefire switches. And then it comes down to a single button style of wired remote. And that's just to actuate the range finding, and then to turn it on and then turn it off as well. We already kind of talked about the construction already being all metal, which is great. The adjustments on here being the elevation and windage. The one thing I didn't care for is that they're a smooth adjustment. They don't have any clicks to indicate, you know, how much of a movement you made. So when you guys are at the range or somewhere that you can see the visible laser, you're gonna have to be sure that you're paying attention, because you know, even the slightest movement has a large sweep, both vertically and horizontally. So just be careful with that. And then once you set it, if it is going to stay married to a particular setup, I would do some witness marks with, you know, just a paint marker, and you should be good from there. Now, looking at the screen, it does have a little bit of a hood on there, which is okay. I kind of wish I had a little bit more, or maybe like a screw-on accessory to give it a little bit more of a hood there. And the reason I say that is because in direct sunlight, this does tend to kind of wash out the screen a little bit. So that's just something to take in consideration. It's not, for the price of what this thing is and like everything it's capable of, I think that's kind of a nitpicking on it just a little bit. It's just something to understand, guys. From there, when you guys look at the screen itself, what we have in the right corner is your distance. From there, we'll have the mill hold, time of flight, and then in the bottom right corner, which I thought was pretty cool, is it'll show you what your remaining velocity is for that distance, and it'll pump that on there. The other cool thing that I liked is that this particular screen is a black background with white digits versus the other way around. Some other ones have a white background with black digits, and I believe that works, especially if you have like an amber backlight that you can do to have it lower light. So this one doesn't have, well, at least if it does, I haven't found it, but it doesn't have any light changing colors. It's just got dimming capabilities. One of the other big things to pay attention to here is if you guys are wearing polarized lenses. So if you have sunglasses on and you are trying to come up and, you know, look at that, the polarized lenses kind of wash out the screen. I thought I had the thing off at one point, and I took my glasses off and realized no, it was on the whole time, and then it was working. It just, polarized lenses seem to do that. Regular sunglasses, you're fine, just polarized lenses. And then if you come at a far enough angle, you know, it'll pop up because of the way, you know, polarization works. All right, so now we're looking at why might you want this versus a handheld rangefinder or a set of, you know, the bino rangefinders or just any other kind of rangefinder that's out there. Well, this really comes down to one, ease of use. Two, it has the applied ballistic stuff and other ballistic calculator types that you can Bluetooth to it. And then three, the aspect of speed. Even in the military, a lot of guys are getting set up similar to this, where it's a large frame gasser with a weapon mounted rangefinder on top. And this is so that you don't have to break your position per se in order to, you know, pull out that rangefinder, get on those binos, and, you know, again, just breaking that position. You can stay on glass, you can stay locked in, and then you have faster follow-ups and you have faster engagements to the targets. So when you can, again, look towards your whatever intended target is, you can actuate it like so. It'll spit out your range if you have this already connected to a ballistic calculator, and then essentially what it'll do is it'll give you whatever your firing solution is for that distance. So it'll just be boom. It's like, all right, cool, got my distance, got my elevation, and it'll even give you a windage call from there as well, if you have that preset in, or, you know, your ballistic calculator is calculating that portion. And then from there, you guys can go through your engagements, quickly shift. Okay, that's the next target, range, boom, boom, boom. So this is becoming extremely popular in the military from the aspect of speed, especially when you have a gas gun, and then you have a tree reticle, which I'll get to that here in a minute. And then it's also becoming very popular in competition. So the NRL Hunter style series where you have to find, range, and engage on the clock. So, you know, if you can shave off time without having to pull out a rangefinder, then you're good to go. So this thing helps at being a lot faster, keeps everything consolidated. It also works really, really well on spotting scopes that do have a reticle in there, so that you have a pretty solid ranging to spotting setup as well if you're really running in teams. But mainly it works awesome on here. It does make it a little bit heavier. It does make the profile a little bit larger. If that's not an issue for you, then I promise you you'll enjoy this. And if you have a gasser and you're not in the military, it's gonna spank your wallet just a little too much, because once you start driving nails into those targets, then you'll want to keep hitting that reset button on there until you keep running out of ammo. Yeah, so needless to say, I like to punish myself with this toy here, and it shoots extremely well. Anyways, let's break this thing down a little bit more. So when we're looking at the cable here, the way this cable works is it does have a collar that slides up and down, similar to like the fittings you would use on an air compressor. There is a little indicator on there there's a red dot, and then there's a red dot on the cable itself. So what you'll do is you'll essentially just push it in and it'll click in and you're good to go. I do wish that it did have some threads at the top right here so that this collar could also spin and then maybe, you know, lock in a little bit more. So if you see here, this thing does have a little bit of play to it. Now, I have not had an issue with it yet. It's just one of those, it's there. I haven't had an issue yet. I haven't talked to anybody that's had an issue yet. And this thing has gone through vehicles. I've taken it on ATVs, packed it in bags, ran around with it while wearing kit to see if it get caught on anything. And I haven't had any issues thus far. So not to say that that means it's bulletproof. It's just one of those identifiable things. They did say that they're working on some newer versions of this. So pretty pumped to try that out. And the cool part is that'll just be an accessory thing. Now, again, for the guys that don't know or they're not familiar with devices like this, if this cable is not here, this thing will still work. So you can still actuate it from the top up here. Where this cable really comes into play is managing your, good structure on the rifle and your fundamentals of marksmanship. So what'll happen, and you'll see this in other examples with other people shooting some different versions, or if the cable did break for somebody on other just weapon mounted rangefinders in general. What you'll see is they'll release their support hand that's back here in order to now turn into a balancing act. And what they'll do is they'll come up top and they'll try to sit there and balance, aiming at this target while trying to actuate the laser all at the same time. So for me, what I did here is, you guys can see that the button is on the side right here. Now this doesn't have a forward assist, so I had some real estate there. And I like it back here because when I come to actuate the button, all I got to do is just pivot my hand up and it's all in my workspace. So I can still maintain a rear bag like so. I can aim at the target, just come up, and I still have full control of the rifle and everything else. You'll see a lot of guys that'll put it right here on the mag weld. That's fine too. I just don't have the longer fingers, and I didn't want to get my palm completely off of the pistol grip like this in order to reach wherever that button is at. So again, I'm able to keep my hand on the rear bag. If I was in the prone or if I was on a barricade, I'd be able to keep my hand up here, keeping the entire platform stable and solid. Hit your laser, get your distance, and go from there. That way you can stay as pinpoint as possible, because again, the laser itself is co-witnessed with the reticle. So you're using your reticle as your indicator. All right, while we're on the subject of a co-witnessed laser, meaning that the two are working together, being the reticle and that, you have to be careful, right? And I'm gonna emphasize this. You have to be careful if you are a dialer. So if you essentially laze whatever the target is, and let's say you're at 500 and you had to come up to 3.3 mils and you dialed for 3.3 like so. Well, if you had to transition from that target to another target and you leave this on, right? I'm going to repeat myself. If you leave data on your elevation knob and then try to rearrange something, you're going to get a completely wrong answer. You got to remember that once the laser is set, it is set, meaning that when you start to use your turret, it's going to shift that reticle up and down depending on where you're going. So in order for you to have the most accurate range every single time, you want to make sure you go back to 0, then range that target. Or the easiest way to facilitate this is you have a reticle with a tree in it. And this is again where the tree reticle started to become really popular in the military, is because we were getting devices like this before they became, fully available to the civilian market. So when you have a full grid reticle, now you can do all your holdovers and your wind calls without having to adjust this. Now the ones in the military also had IR illuminators for when you're doing nighttime shooting. We're not talking about that right now, but when you do have an IR illuminator, if you're somebody out there that does have that capability, you would want to set that illuminator somewhere in that reticle as well. But if you started to dial again, these are, you're going to shift that reticle, and this is why a grid reticle is super beneficial. So we have beneficial for it just being a gas gun in general. We have a lot of usable space when we have a weapon mounted rangefinder. And the last thing is with a co-witnessed reticle is when you start to, when the sun starts going down, and I'm sure guys like who hunt have seen this, it's either like early mornings or right when the sun is kind of starting to set and the lens is a little bit smaller on a handheld rangefinder. The other thing with the handheld rangefinders is that they're all a digital reticle, meaning that they're going to have, you know, the blowout of whatever that illumination is. You don't have to worry about that with these things. So you don't have to sit there and go through all those settings to just lower and dim it just because you're in a different time of the day, versus on here, you know, because it's co-witness to the reticle, it's just point the reticle at the target and laze it, get your distance, and go from there. Let's head out to the range. We're going to show you guys some footage of this thing running again, and we'll see you here back in a little bit. One of the major areas that I do want to highlight on this particular rangefinder is how freaking fast the response time is. Like, it is instantaneous. Like, I'm hitting the button and it's already there before I can pick my head up to see what the actual range is. So that particular feature is a lot faster than most other brands out there. It's faster than my handhelds. It's faster than binos I've used and some other very fancy ones, to include the ones that I've used in the military. This thing is extremely quick, and it's an area that I really wanted to highlight on there. So when you guys are looking for speed so that you can get those shots off on target, this thing is going to be your friend. Lastly is the app itself. So we're going to shift everything over, and you guys are going to join me right here on the app itself. So when you guys open up the box, it'll have a QR code for you guys to scan so that you can go to the app that they provide specifically for this, but you can attach any other kind of applied ballistics based ballistic calculator. So whether you have a Kestrel, any of the Garmin products that have that, or some of the other things out there, those will Bluetooth to this device. So it's not just limited to their app, but I will say their app works pretty damn good. So join me here where we're going to talk about the app. So let's kind of go over this. If you guys are familiar with the old version of Applied Ballistics, it kind of has a very similar vibe to it. But when we look at it, and I'll open it up right now. So currently I have my this gun's range card opened up. If we go down to the bottom left, we see the HUD, the heads-up display, and this is where you can tap the different icons that you see across the bottom there. So those will kind of update it for your heading, if you have any inclination, pressure, temperature. You can go to the clock thing, the clock icon on the right, and you can essentially drag it around and do what you need to. Or nope, you don't drag it, you just tap it to the direction of which the wind is coming from, or which way the wind. You just click this until you get the direction that the wind is going. Up top here, you can see that it has the information that you would see also on the screen right here. So right now it shows all zeros and everything because currently I am indoors and I don't have range going on right now. But if we go back down to the bottom, we can see targets. You can implement specific targets. You got your range card that you guys can do. You can click the range card settings in the bottom, set it to how you want your minimum distance. So if you want closer, you got closer. And then your distance increments. So however much depth you want your range card to go. Continuing all the way down where it's gray and white, we have the square with the writing on there. That's how you implement your profiles. You guys can see that at the very bottom you have 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, so on and so forth. So you can build a lot of profiles in here. If I click onto the 6.5 gasser that I have here, this is what it looks like. So you can do your temperature, your muzzle velocity temperature tables at the bottom, which if you want to know how to do that, either research it or you guys can come out to a Sidewinder class and we'll teach you about it. We have the bullet library. It's pretty in-depth because it's using the applied ballistic stuff, and then you can click on all this stuff here. Now, the one thing that I would like to point out is if you look at the way the icons, and this is from a user standpoint, if you look at the way the icons look like on the gun category, it does not look like you can actually click those because there's no like square around there, and this took me a second to try to figure it out. But if you do click it, it'll add the cursor right next to it so that you can, you know, type in whatever you need to. So all of these are inputs that you can put in. I just kind of wish that they had a little box there so it looks like something that's actually clickable to adjust, because right now it just looks like it's just printed, like it was inputted into there previously. From there, you can just hit the back button and you're back to this screen right here. The last one being the weather. This is to set up how you want it to collect the data to then transfer over to the rangefinder itself. And at the top, very, very top, you can see where it shows a profile, and then in green it has that it's connected to the device itself. So you can either implement this manually, which I do like for tactical purposes. Again, that's, you know, part of the Sidewinder classes that we can go a little bit more in depth on that. Maybe I'll make a video on it later. But at the moment, just for ease of use, which is what this thing was designed for, we'll leave it on the internet mode. And then you can collect your altitude and information from like your phone. So you can update it, and it'll pull the information for current wind speeds in your area and direction just based off of the GPS and the phone information. So at the bottom there, since everything is set to take it from the internet and the phone, I'll hit the take measurement, and it looks like it currently updated. So we're good to go. Pretty much once you have this thing all set up, if you want to run everything off of there, you don't need to leave your phone on. That's a pretty cool part. You just need to have it set up right here on your for the heads up display, so the HUD that you can see at the bottom there. Once I get to this screen, I'll update my temperature, I'll update my pressure, and I'll update my heading. And now that this thing is all connected, I can just turn my phone off, put it away like that, and then go into essentially back to this, and it'll give me everything. So right now I just hit it, said 8 yards. It tells me to hold 7.47 mils up to account for all the stuff, and it says that I have 2,782 feet per second remaining from 8 yards. So sweet. So that's pretty much it, guys. There's nothing crazy to any of this stuff. It's just merely it's a rangefinder. Once you have it set up properly with zeroing and co-witness, you're good to go. Once you have the ballistic calculator set up, now this thing is even more effective. Without further ado, guys, head down to the comment section. Go ahead and let us know what you guys want to see about this, what you want to see in the future. If you have one, what are your thoughts? And we look forward to seeing you guys out there on the range next time.